magic number.
What does it all mean?
Hello and welcome to Flintoff, Savage and the Ping Pong Guy. That's me, Matthew Syed. Here, some brilliant topics this week. First, we're going to talk about the effects.
You cut meaty short then. Go meaty, not brilliant. Meaty.
Yeah, people like meaty.
Say it with pride.
Yeah.
Meaty
Said I
topics.
was repeating it a bit
Your
too much.
catchphrase.
Oh, it's fine.
Yeah, okay.
You've got one.
Meaty topics this week. First, we're going to talk about the effects of rants like Jose Mourinho and his press conference. Then, we're going to present our manifestos for becoming Prime Minister. Remember, you can use
Robbie's been up all night. Look at him. He's got pieces of paper that someone's written for him.
Got research, Andrew, research.
I'll save it because there's nowhere on earth there are your words.
They are.
No way on earth.
No, they're not my words. They're words
Well,
of...
they're meant to be. It's your manifesto.
It is, but I've took them off words of a philosopher.
So you've just pasted and copied off the internet.
Plagiarism.
You've pasted and copied.
No, it's exactly what am I thinking.
This is what I'm worried about, this manifesto, because Theresa May will be pasting and copying mine. Oh, Theresa.
Remember, you can use the hashtag FriendSavSide to suggest future topics you'd like to hear us talk about. And seeing as we're talking about getting in touch, last week, Fred, you told a story about a potentially nasty incident in Milton Keynes.
I did. It's had some pickup as well, hasn't it? It was played on air all of a sudden in newspapers. I was only telling a story, likened in Jamie Carragher's speech. No, I didn't. I didn't spit, but I think it was just showing the different ways you can react. A good way and a bad way.
So for people who didn't listen last time, you're doing the musical in Milton Keynes.
Well, I'm doing the musical in Milton Keynes. I popped in Saturday night to do a show before 9 shows in Manchester this week. Mm-hmm. And then on my way back to premiering Lenny Henry's house, around the corner, I got accosted by two lads. One was nice, one wasn't. One wanted to have a bit of a rumble, the other didn't. So I restrained him and diffused the situation. Yeah. And then since then...
But he didn't just want to have a rumble. He came over and in a totally...
unprovoked
way, he slapped you.
Yeah. No, it wasn't like a full-on slap, or I wouldn't be able to help myself. It was like half a slap, and I restrained him, got him down, said, mate, go away, walk away. And then things have been in the press, talked about it on the podcast, and an email went into the office, my management office, to Katie, and I've got it here, what he wrote. Here we go. So, dear Katie Lydon, Katie's me agent, not me. Just clear that up. He's not writing to me. I don't have I've done a bit of dragging me time, but if I was going to pick a name, I won't go Katie Lydon. I'd probably go, I don't know, something a bit not that Katie Lydon's not. I'm digging it home, Katie.
Stop digging.
I'm shutting. I'm just going to read the email. I am writing this email. I would like to apologise to Freddie for slapping him for no reason. You're building it up a bit. I was drunk, I don't remember the incident, and thought my mate was having me on until I heard Freddie on BBC Radio 5 Live.
Wow.
There is absolutely no excuse for my actions. And would like to thank Freddie for acting the way he did. Hey? No bodily fluids exchanged. All right? By just walking away. I was a massive twit, spelt with an A, and deserved at least a black eye. If you could forward my apology to Freddie, I would be grateful. Yours sincerely. I'm not going to read his name out from the lad. Now, two things to this email. Yeah. One is, it's nice he sent it. You know, he's nice and he's owned up to it. Shouldn't have been in this position. The second one, I'm a bit disappointed in myself. He reckons he deserved the black eye. I wish I'd have given him one now. But I was very restrained.
Yeah. But I mean, for me... I think to myself, fair play. I mean, he did something that he obviously can't remember. He was out of his mind. That doesn't in any way justify what he did, but to have the wherewithal to say, you know what, I'm going to own up, I'm going to fess up. He did publish his own name in that letter to Kate.
He did,
Lydon.
He did, and his email's obviously on there as well. Which I'll be posting on Twitter for anybody's replies.
It's a good apology and fair play to him. Sometimes apologies what they are. When I broke my leg, I got an apology off the guy who broke my leg. I think it was 3 or 4 days later. But was it a sincere apology? I don't know. You've got to take it.
My only problem with apologies, right, is I'm all for an apology. I really am. And I think it's good to do. But I just wonder motives behind apologising. Right? Is it... I could be speaking way out of line.
I get what you mean.
I don't think I am. Has he apologised to make himself feel better?
Yeah.
Or get a name check on the podcast? Right? Or has he apologised? Because apologising. What's that going to do? Don't make me feel any better.
But
I feel worse now. I should have belted
But it
him.
must feel a bit better, because remember last week you were saying it could have been awkward for you.
I shouldn't have belted him. I'm
No.
joking. It's a joke. It's a well-advised... Yeah, carry on.
But he corroborates everything. I bet you there would have been some people listening on the podcast thinking that maybe you overreacted to what he did. That apology shows that everything.
But
that
what
you
happened
said,
then, Matthew?
Everything that you said was absolutely.
But
spot
I don't
on.
need vindication.
I think it sounds
I
sincere.
know. You reckon?
Yeah.
Well, what happens then?
I've got a problem with apologies.
What happens then if Freddie would have clocked him, give him a black eye, and now in his apology he said he deserved one.
It'd have probably
and Freddie would have
gone.
And if Freddie would have
He'd
apologised,
probably turn around and knock me out.
Freddie would have got hammered in the papers, in the press, front page for hitting somebody.
But that's one of the double-edged sword of celebrity. You know, you're in the spotlight, you have lots of opportunities, but you also have the opportunity for people to have a pop at you and to get vilified when you do something. In that case, it would have been legitimate to have a go at him.
But do you know when we spoke last week about people reacting in ways in which they do, and there's a prime example with Jamie Carragher?
Yep.
Now, the thing about this was, which I'm actually quite happy about it, is it was completely out the blue. And if I'd have done something else, I could have sat here and said, you know, it's out of character, it's this, that, and the other. But it happened out the blue, and that was my reaction. Now, people are in control of their actions. This is one thing that I've been thinking about. You know, winding windows down and spitting and things like that. You're in control of that. And I was in control of myself here, and he sent an email, and I suppose it is a nice thing to do.
I can't believe because I cannot believe the heartthrob, one of the most famous men, most liked men in Britain, somebody actually thought they could come up to you and slap you.
I can't
because you are the most liked man in the world.
No, I'm not really.
You're worried that he's going to be hammering you about your manifesto. You're sucking up to him early.
The problem,
he's strategic, isn't he?
The problem is as well, right? I got home, I got it Premier in Mirror, I had a look and I had a chat and thought, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? I'm 6'4", I'm boxed. Why does somebody think they can come up to me and slap me? What is it about me?
So
is it since I've started growing my hair? I'm going to shave my head. I'm going to stick the earring back in. I'm going to get some facial tattoos. I'm going to look a bit harder. I'm 6'4", people shouldn't slap me.
So from the Premier Inn to Cannes.
Oh, yeah.
The Property Festival.
Oh, is it?
Wow.
Oh, is it my week, this one?
Yeah, it's your week. Yeah, we'll come on to ours.
Yeah, the past week I've been in Cannes to Mippin, the big property festival.
Wow.
It's all been kept under wraps a little bit because we just want to go under the radar of our company, Logic Developments. We've got 5 big developments we're doing in Manchester. And Mippin is all the people from the UK around the world present stuff. I was part of the Manchester delegation presenting what we're doing. Spoke on the government stand.
Wow.
And had a debate with a couple of people, leaders of the cities. Spoke on the Manchester stand about Bolton and Bolton's redevelopment and the knock-on effect it should and could have on the rest of Lancashire. The importance of Lancashire County Cricket Club to Manchester, the amount of money it brings in to the community and surrounding areas. So we did all this. Do you know what? I really enjoyed it. Because
you're on. I mean, one of the speeches you gave, you're with the chief executive of Manchester City Council, other major
Birmingham,
figures.
Ireland, and English Heritage. So you sit there.
Is it intimidating?
Well, do you know what? A little bit at first, because it's talking about stuff I've never really spoken about. Usually I can go on and I can tell a story or I can tell something about cricket. This is different. But the schemes that we're bringing forward as a company, I believe in. So it's easy to speak about. When I'm speaking about Lancashire County Cricket Club and the importance it has, you know, it's something I'm passionate about, so I can speak about it. But it was interesting because going there, when we first go, you know, everyone sees me, Neil and Tony and has a look at us and thinks, oh, here we go, the lads are back here, look at them. You know, you got all these people in this world and they've been doing all this for years. And then from presenting what we're doing, because it's pretty impressive, it's very impressive stuff. All of a sudden everyone's dishing the cards out and saying, oh, give us a ring. Like, yeah, all right, mate, yeah, good one. But that festival in Cannes, it's a strange place. It's a strange place. 20,000 men in suits.
Wow.
And there's 2 ways which it's used. You know, I was part of the Manchester delegation. We want to go there and meet people. The council are so forward-thinking and cement that relationship with them and collaborate and work with them. I'm saying all the right things here. But then all day you have meetings. So from 9 till 6, you'll organise meetings with different people from funds, from banks, who've got property.
Those are people who might invest in your developments.
People we want to buy things off. You get to see the council in a different light, not in the town hall. You get to see him socially and a bit more of an informal chat, which was nice. But then you've got people who just want a week away from the missus in Cannes. And it's the weirdest thing.
Which one were you then?
Stop it. Why are you nasty? Why are you being so nasty?
Why are you being nasty? Horrible.
No, but it's like when the sun goes down in Cannes, nothing good's happening. And we rented a little house. Well, we rented a nice house.
Wasn't little, was it?
No. 4 or 5 of us, about a mile away. And then it was nice because in the evenings we could sit around and talk and sort our strategies out for what we're doing. But it's been a good week.
It's fascinating. You know, you've got the regeneration side of the business. You're developing properties. You're running a business. And it's also worth saying that this week, 9 shows, Fat Friends in Manchester.
What a contrast. 1 minute I'm speaking on the government stand. Tonight I'll be Kevin Murgatroyd. With my arm in a sling and a pair of overalls, singing The Only Fool Is Me. I mean, imagine that. But that's the problem. You turn up at these things. I'm on the government stand.
He's Kev!
Kev's here. I'm talking about Old Trafford's £60 million redevelopment over the 10 years, from 2019 to 2024, being £120 million into the wider area. And then anyone come and see me this week, I've got a vest and overalls on. Burning the chippy down.
Roberto.
So this week, it got an exciting week ahead. I want to talk about what I didn't do last week, what I've got planned this week.
Okay. What did you just skirt over what you did last week?
I was at Arsenal. I was at Arsenal, AC Milan.
That's enough. What are you doing next week?
Look at it.
Oh, go on.
No, seriously, why? Why did we bother with it?
That's fair.
Seriously. So anyway,
Can I just say one thing about what we did last week as well? I went to meet Robbie last night for a drink.
Okay.
He had his under-12s football meeting. It was like crisis talks under-12s.
Well, they've been losing.
It's football.
Have they been losing?
Oh, it's football all the way down. The amazing thing about football, I should save this for my rant, is that everybody knows better. They don't understand that there's thousands of football teams in the world all want to win as well, but their team has got to win, and it's always one kid's fault. It's like
So anyway,
we meet at the pub, and I'm going to pay him a compliment here. He looked $1 million.
Oh,
you should have seen him. His hair was immaculate, and I'm not a big fan of his hair usually, but it was immaculate. Right? Honestly, he had these chinos on. And I didn't have the courage to say, Robbie, where'd you get them chinos from? I want a pair of them.
Wow.
They were nice wool knitted chinos.
Grey.
What colour?
Grey.
Like a grey. And then he had this like turtleneck jumper on, which wasn't quite a turtleneck, so he got away with it. And a pair of very expensive trainers.
White trainers.
Yeah.
You
should have seen him in the place last night. All eyes on Robbie Savage. There wasn't a dry seat in there. Dry eye. Carry on, Rob.
So, after AC Milan, not much happened. And then this week is a big week because it's Sport Relief. So on Friday, I am... the two previous Sport Reliefs I've done...
He's laughing so much, spitting his tea out.
So I usually competed with Alan Shearer, and I think Alan's done 3 now. So
do you know when you did that last year and you had to spend the day with Alan Shearer?
Yeah.
Did you need to sit on all them seats, or was it just hard enough to spend the day with Alan? Because he is miserable.
No, he's great. He's great. He's great.
I should have banged my head on the seats than to speak to him.
He's great. So
he's a bit boring.
Miserable Al.
No, he's not.
No?
He's brilliant.
Really? Miserable Al.
Mike in the headphones. He's not. Yeah.
No, he's not. Trust me. Fantastic. You two would love it. Fantastic.
Joking.
So the previous 2 Sport Reliefs, we done sat on every seat at Wembley, which was I think we raised over £500,000 for that. And then last year, 2 years ago, we done the 24-hour 5-a-side game out in front of the BBC here in Salford, and we raised over £500,000. So about £1 million we've raised.
Wow.
And this is the 3rd time I'm doing it, so it's a 12-hour 5-a-side. I've got to stay on the pitch.
Were you used to like sitting on seats at football grounds?
So the hardest bit about that was...
What?
It's mentally so hard, because you look around Wembley Stadium thinking, wow. You know, pushing the seat down with your arm, because the seat flips back, doesn't it? So every seat you have to push down with your arm. It was so hard.
Did I get someone to do it for you?
No, I had to do it myself, which is like...
Robbie, have you seen what you're raising money for? You're pushing a seat down with your arm.
It was hard, 45,000 seats.
To be watching thinking he's put himself out. Oh, cheers, Rob.
So on Friday, we've got the 5-a-side, 12 hours, Matthew, here. 11 till 11. People can come down and support. Fantastic. Fred's actually 11 o'clock. I know he's gone. Presenting.
Yeah.
The show, 11 o'clock on BBC. You're presenting the live show.
20 to 11, I think I start.
20 to 11.
Wow.
I've got your football finishes
11 o'clock.
That'll be hard, that, Rob. That
I know it will be.
Football
Out there in front of the BBC.
Got Michael Vaughan coming in.
is-
That's not going to make it any easier, is it?
Michael Vaughan's played, Harry Judd, Kirsty Gallagher, Sam Quirk, Peter Reid's the manager.
Is Alan playing?
Alan?
Sure.
No, Alan's not playing this year.
Right.
He's done 3 sport release now. I think he's raised over £1.5–2 million. Great effort.
Yeah,
so we're looking forward to it. That's on Friday.
Brilliant.
Matthew.
Shea Given.
Shay Given's doing a penalty shootout, I think, for 12 hours.
Because I was looking at the script. But I've never had a script like it.
Really?
Because I'm on for about 2 hours. So I was reading through it, what's happening in this hour, because my mate Clyde has written it with us.
Was Clyde doing it?
Yeah. So it's busy.
He put, when you put the hashtag Fred Sav Syed, he put a tweet out saying, "Get Fred to stop bullying you on the podcast."
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, I don't remember.
He did.
You feeling got out?
What have you done, Matthew?
Yeah, what have you done?
So remember last week I talked about meeting Danny Cipriani.
Yes.
Last week, do you remember I mentioned that his mother is an extraordinary character, that she started driving a black cab to support his rugby development, pay for his private schools. Danny and his mum, Anne, came to my home on Wednesday night. We spent 3 hours together, and Danny's an impressive guy, great rugby player, very charismatic, good-looking.
Right there, Fred. Is he boring you? People who can't see this, Fred is on his phone typing.
He just told me how good-looking and charismatic Danny Cipriani
But
is.
his mum, I've got to tell you, one of the most inspirational people
Really?
I've ever met.
In what way?
Well, even now, she's in her late 50s. She's up at 5:45 every day. She's driving the cab. She was one of the first female black cabbies in London. And it just made me think of something that we've discussed before, that when you see somebody who has achieved great success, there's almost always somebody in the background, anonymous, behind the scenes, who has beaten down that path for them to travel along. And I'm going to do a piece about this. And
I wonder why
just
you're
think-
Seriously, honestly.
But honestly,
every piece you come up with for this is in the paper the next week or the week before.
What do you mean?
You basically, the reason why you're on this pod, to publicise your piece in the paper.
Danny Cipriani, two weeks on bounce, writing a piece.
Yeah. Well, I didn't do one of them last week, but his mum.
Danny
It's not going to be about
Cipriani-
Danny. It's going to be about Anne Cipriani, this amazing woman. And just a shout out to all the mums out there. Topic number 1.
It's turned into Mum's Net. What's going on? What's happening here? Trying to get Mum's Net on side.
I'm trying to transition into the first topic. Trying to get you off the phone.
I'll be back on it if you carry on.
Okay. Topic number 1. In the press conference leading up to last weekend's FA Cup tie with Brighton, Jose Mourinho unleashed a 12-minute rant following Manchester United's exit to the Champions League match in Seville. He questioned the media, the club's recent football heritage. He compared his squad to Manchester City's and highlighted the players that he had brought in.
What was that accent?
He said the heritage is not good.
He's not French.
What are you doing?
How did he say? You've seen the press conference.
Is he French?
Alistair McGowan had popped in. You do look like him a little bit without her, don't you?
Alistair
He's
McGowan.
Portuguese.
Like a hairless Alistair McGowan.
But you've seen the press conference. He was
He's
saying
not
we do not have the heritage. Heritage. He didn't say heritage, did he? He was saying
not his fault.
heritage.
That sounds French, though.
How would you?
Do you know why we're on that?
Yeah.
Do you know when you don't really say tease, do you?
No,
Why?
I don't know.
You what?
I don't know why I don't do it. I've been criticised a lot
Criticised.
on
So
the
you did
podcast
it then.
for saying
Criticised.
don't use my T's,
Criticised.
and also
What?
apparently I say athletes rather than athletes.
You don't say
I
your
didn't know any of
T's.
it. No. All right, I dropped the T.
Say tango.
No, if it's the start, he used
no,
it, doesn't he? He's not going to go Ango. He's not going to say. He's not going to say kind of a can of orange Ango.
Hey, listen. For the 5
That's a bad one, that Rob. That's a bad one. No wonder you've gone red.
Okay. In the press conference leading up to last weekend's FA Cup tie with Brighton, Jose Mourinho unleashed a 12-minute rant following Manchester United's exit in the Champions League to Seville. He questioned the media and the club's recent football heritage. He compared his squad to Manchester City's buys. He went off on one. And he didn't just do it on Saturday, he did it again after the match against Brighton, which Manchester United won. So the question we're asking is, do rants like this work? Can they inspire players? Or do they have an inevitably negative effect on team morale?
Do you know Mourinho's?
Yep.
What's the point of his rant?
In my opinion, so I listened to this, and I was genuinely shocked at the number of times he said I, me, and myself.
But he's narcissistic.
He's a
isn't he?
narcissist, Fred.
Yeah.
See, I think a rant can work if your objective is to elevate and inspire the people around you. But it doesn't work when you're trying to put them down to make yourself look better. Mourinho is worried about his own managerial
I was going to
inadequacies.
say, is he trying to make himself look better?
100%.
Seem to be blameless in this situation. It all ties in together.
You've got it in one. And that, to me, that's narcissism. It doesn't inspire people around you. What he's trying to do is deflect attention from the fact that Pep Guardiola is having a much better season at Manchester City, that his team is out of the Champions League, and so he's saying we have no heritage. In other words, what he's saying is I inherited a terrible team. He's implicitly criticising the people he needs to inspire to play better. The tactics aren't very good either. And I think that if a rant emerges from self-interest, the manager giving the rant, it's going to have a negative effect on team morale. And I tell you, I talked to Robbie in the week about this on the phone. I am genuinely astonished that you think what Mourinho has said in those 2 press conferences is going to have a positive effect on his players.
Can you give me a flavour of what he said?
Yeah. So he was criticising the heritage. In other words, I have inherited very weak players. They're not good enough.
That's what he said.
That's effectively what he's saying.
And he had a point.
Manchester City
he had a point.
has much better players than I do. Let's not forget, he has had a massive transfer spend. He's managed to buy a lot of players. He's got a checkbook that most other managers can only dream of. But he's trying to say, it's nothing to do with me, lads. It's not my fault.
But factually, he was correct, what he was saying. No?
Oh.
Well, he's bought.
So he was saying previous years, the places they finished in the Premier League, where they've got knocked out of the Champions League, where they've got knocked out of the Europa League, and factually, he read facts out, Fred.
Bobby,
where
he got rid of Kevin De Bruyne.
At Chelsea,
Yeah.
that's different. We're talking about Man United. We're not talking about Chelsea here.
Sure, but it doesn't show that his judgment on what isn't a good player is absolutely perfect and spotless.
Who's
and
is?
flawless.
So,
by the way,
Pep Guardiola bought Claudio Bravo and then bought another keeper for 35 million. So every manager's judgment can go wrong at times.
Robbie,
But that's a fact.
Would you agree with this? Part of being a manager is to
That's a very funny thing. Wow.
I feel strong.
Was that Teddy? Teddy, you're being naughty. That was that face. Wow. Teddy.
Come on, Matthew. Keep going. Don't break now. Don't break character. Don't smile. Get back at him.
Is it fair to say that part of being a manager is to take players and make them better?
Yes.
With the way you train them, the way you set them up tactically. I genuinely think that Guardiola has a team that he has lifted, that he has magnified their talents and minimised their weaknesses.
But a year ago, you were saying it was overrated.
No, but
a
that's
year
a different
ago, you were saying
issue.
it was
It's a
overrated.
different issue.
Just a bit of balance here, boys.
Yep.
Yeah.
If I was a manager, right, and I'm taking over a football team, and I go into a press conference, and I say I am the special one.
Yep.
He was.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Go on.
If I'm going to go around saying I'm the special one, I'm not going to look at the previous years and say, well, we did what we did last year. I'm the special one here. Yeah. I'm not in the semi-finals. I'm not getting to the same spot in the Champions League. Yep. I'm coming here to win everything.
Yep.
And if I don't, then I've failed.
Yep.
But he won 2 trophies last season.
What did he win?
The Europa League.
Not the big one.
Europa League on a Thursday night on Channel 5. We've come to that.
But he won the trophy. He won the Europa League. And the teams, and there's much more emphasis now on the Europa League because it gets you a spot in the Champions League.
Tell me.
So
he's now gone from the special one to getting it Champions League round back door.
And this is a point, Robbie. Can you?
That's not the special one. That's the average one.
How you feel
that's
as a player?
Scraping. Well, I mean, Rob, keep up. You're a pundit.
So go on.
Where's Mark Lawrenson when you need him?
So listen,
get some colours on Robin.
The rant. Let's get some colours on. So the rant.
And a dodgy cardigan.
I'm with you. It was a lot about what his achievements have been.
It's all about him,
right? But in terms of factually being correct of the positions that Manchester United finished before he got there, it was correct. Yeah, he took the emphasis off his team.
No, he didn't. He put the emphasis on his team and how bad they were and how good he is.
He done an interview after the Brighton game.
Yep.
Where I thought it should have been role reversal. He should have come out and spoke like he did after the Brighton game, where he hammered a few. But after the Sevilla game, he didn't.
Can I ask you a question?
His interview after the Brighton game should have been after the Sevilla game and vice versa.
By the way, Fred, just so you know, after the Brighton game, United won.
I should watch more sports than I really.
Yeah.
But then Mourinho criticised pretty much everyone on his team except for Matic. He said that he has personality.
I saw that. I did see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said it was an island or something.
Yeah.
An island.
So it should have been more reversal. But on that rant, do you not think it was engrossing TV.
That's a totally different issue.
I'm just saying,
That's back to last week's.
Yeah, I enjoy.
You said it's not about entertainment; it's about winning.
I enjoy watching it. He is a winner, Jose Mourinho. Listen, in this season, well, 10 months ago.
Was he standing still?
10 months ago.
He has moved on. Coach has moved on. He's standing still.
He's still basking.
Evolving. He's still basking on former glories. When you do that, you stand still.
That's right.
Pep Guardiola, he's looking at future. He's looking at where we're going to go. He's not thinking we've won a game. I'd imagine when he wins a game, he'll hug all his players. Next bit is right. Next one. He's evolving. Mourinho, I don't know what it is. Obviously, you're a Mourinho fan. And that's fine. No, I'm not having a go at you.
I'm more of a Pep fan now, I'll be honest.
Oh, you change your tune.
No, I am.
Top of the league and
you called him out. That's a different ball. You hammered him a year ago, so don't jump on the bandwagon now. All of a sudden, you've gone from Fergie to Pep.
That ginger fella at Burnley's a better manager than Mourinho.
Sean Dyche.
Of course, imagine.
How would you work that out?
Because imagine
Mourinho. How would you work that out?
Imagine Mourinho going to Burnley on a Saturday afternoon. He'd be whinging. If he's whinging about Man United, if he's whinging about how much money he's spent, if he's whinging about them, imagine going to Burnley. He's a better manager. What he's got, the resources he's got available to him.
And look
at where they are in the league.
And
look
by
at
the way,
way they're playing. They're improving.
Only because you train there.
Look at how he inspires his players as well. You watch any press conference with him, any of the post-match interviews, he's building up his players.
Yes.
He's saying, it's not about me, it's about them. With Mourinho, it is the total opposite. It's not about them, it's about me. I mentioned me, myself and I. I lost count of the number of times he used the first... Actually, it's a song. Who sang that one? It's a rap.
Yeah, it is.
Me, myself and I.
So you don't think that rap worked?
No, what I think happened...
The rant. Did that rap work?
By the way, I'll say this. This is quite interesting. Well, moderately. You know when you get annual reports of big companies? You probably read a few, Fred, in your property development.
No, big companies.
But you often have a photo of the chairman or CEO in the annual report. They did this analysis that the really egotistical ones, they have a photo of themselves that is the size of the entire page. And then when they talk about the company, instead of saying we, they talk about I and me. And it totally alienates their workforce. Why do you... A leadership...
So you just said the big companies, the CEO's at the top because he's the best.
The bad performing big... The good performing big companies have smaller photos and they talk about them as a collective. Robbie, I think that one of the great strengths of, Sir Alex Ferguson, but also other great managers who are coming along, they manage to be a leader and charismatic and confident, but they've also got the humility to say, it's not just me. There are other people in this group.
But isn't him? He don't kick a ball.
Yeah.
So the rant. So we're talking about
how can he possibly say it's a positive rant?
Well, because it's...
I want to talk about Sean Dyche.
He gave it his team reacted. They won the game, got to the semi-final of the cup. So it was the reaction, yeah? Uh-huh. I thought they played better against Brighton than they did against Sevilla.
How would you have felt if you'd have been a player in a team and he's saying the heritage is terrible and you're part of the inheritance?
He didn't dig out the players in that rant.
But the implication
He never dug out the players. But he never dug out the players.
How would you feel, Fred? Okay, let me ask you this.
He never dug out the players in that rant.
I've been ranted at by a table tennis coach. I was 16, got selected for the World Championships in New Delhi. I was probably not quite good enough, but they were going for the future. I was young. And I got criticised a lot in the table tennis community, not a huge community, but it's quite tough psychologically to. And I went into my shell at the training camp before the World Championship. I didn't have my mojo. I wasn't training with the right level of intensity. And Paul Day, who was a great coach and who really got on with me, he said, "You're embarrassing me. More importantly, you're embarrassing yourself." And he raised his voice. He shouted at me. But you know what? He didn't try and humiliate me. He was trying to lift me. And I think that when you get a rant of that kind, it can be positive. I think that we don't want to move to a world where no one ever says what they truly mean. And I think sometimes we can be too politically correct. I don't have a problem with rants. I think that the acid test of a great rant is when it is elevating and not humiliating. And I think that's where Mourinho goes wrong. Fred, your take.
I'm ranting.
Yeah.
I don't mind it.
Have you had a few?
Yeah. I've had a few rants I've been ranted at by numerous people. And I don't mind that. It's fine. Only thing I don't like is, in what Mourinho's done, don't rant about me to the wider world.
Right.
Come and rant to me.
He probably has, though, would you suggest?
Well, even so, this is one of the problems I find with the sport, and even towards the end of my career. For me, the dressing room, them four walls are sacred. Them four walls are where everything happens. That's where you your hopes, your dreams are all put into place. And if you break that trust, you'll never get it back.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to have a go at me, Bumbo's done it, Bob Simpson, the great Australian coach, has. Duncan Fletcher never did. He just used to... I nearly swore then. That's what I think. I nearly dropped the F-bomb. I nearly had a rant. He wouldn't rant at me. He would...
Give you the silent treatment?
Silent... Well,
which is
silent
worse.
treatment for 5 years.
Wow.
But he'd just nitpick. He'd just chip away at you all the time, like blame you for everything. And I don't mind a rant. If it's constructive, I'll respond to it.
What is the most inspirational, difficult at the time, but that had a galvanising effect? Can you remember the context and who gave it to you? And
I had a few. I had one off Neil Fairbrother.
Did you?
Who got me in the office, not in the office, sorry, in the dressing room at Old Trafford. I had, I was struggling. I was in the second team at Lancashire. I was lucky to be in that. Mm-hmm. I should have been playing for England, not in Lancashire's second team. Uh-huh. I was going out every night.
Yep.
I was eating a lot of pizzas and curries. I was 20 stone or just thereabouts. I had a tax bill I couldn't afford to pay. Yeah. So it wasn't a good time, to be honest. I had to sell everything. And Chubby Chander, actually, the two of them hammered me.
Really? For
about half an hour. They just spelt it out. And it was all the things that I knew. Mm. I knew, but when it was told by them, it was, hang on a minute, sort this out. But then afterwards, what we did, we then devised a plan of how I was going to get to where I needed to be. Mm-hmm. So once I'd realised, once they put me in my place and broken me, they then put me back together a little bit. So I remember that. I remember Bob Simpson. He didn't really rant at me. He just called me a horrific name, beginning with C.
Right.
He said, Fred, you are a...
Yeah.
Yeah? I said, all right, Bob, yeah. Anything else? He said, no.
Wow.
I just sat there in this awkward silence and then walked away. I love Bob Simpson. Brilliant. Not a lot of people liked him at Lancashire. Bob Simpson, Rob, when Australia was an average cricket team, he changed the culture of it all. He got Alan Border as captain, who was one of the most dogged, hard...
Left-hander.
Captain Grumpy. And what they did was they changed the culture of Australian cricket. Mm. They didn't have the best team, but what they did have, they had this fight and this attitude where they never take a backward step, like the Australian badge. The emu, it's the emu, innit? And the kangaroo, what can they not do?
Can't go backwards.
Can't go backwards.
Can't they?
So that was the philosophy behind it. We're going to go forwards all the time.
They can't go backwards?
They can't walk backwards. Never take a backward step. So that,
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Is that true?
I know.
I'm not making it up.
Kangaroos can't go backwards.
Have you seen a kangaroo bounce backwards?
So if he started in the... So
he turns around.
Of course. Yeah.
So he changed the culture. So when he was at Lancashire, he upset more people than he probably helped because he just told them as it is. Right. And I love that. I don't mind it.
But you've been in the leadership role. Sorry, I'll come to you in a second.
Kangaroo can't go. That's amazing. Did you know that?
Yeah, I'll Google it in a minute.
There might be one in the world that can. There might be a freak of kangaroos. There might be one somewhere. So don't be saying... There might be three. But on the whole, kangaroos can't go backwards.
Wow. Fred, you've been in leadership roles, right? In your company, but also you're a captain of the England team. Have you ever had to have a stern word that's turned into a rant? Have you ever got the tone wrong when you've done it?
I wish as a captain I'd have ranted more.
Really?
I was always biting my tongue as captain. I was always biting my tongue and just wanted to bowl people out. Remember them YouTube clips of football managers chucking things? I wanted to do that so badly. But I always bit my lip and bit my tongue. I did it. I had a rant in a dressing room when Kevin Peterson was captain.
Really?
Yeah, it was in Bangalore. And we're playing... And we're getting...
Not the Wankaday Stadium, no.
No. That's been getting beat every week in the one-day series. Kevin Peterson was captain. And I'll be honest with you, he didn't really have the team. And I knew what that was like. Mm-hmm. And it's horrible. And I didn't want to be a part of that. And there was loads of things going on at the time because we were going to go home because of the terrorist attacks. There's a lot of things going on in the dressing room and there's a divided camp. Mm-hmm. And we kept getting beat. And then we batted first in this game. We didn't score many runs. Went out to ball. We started off terribly. And I can understand poor performance, but no effort I can't have. Mm. And it built up and it built up and it built up on me. And we got in the dressing room on the rain break. And the coach started speaking, and then I just started shouting. I just started shouting at everyone. It was on the theme of, we're in this together. We're all trying to, if you don't want to do it, go. Just walk away. Do not come out for the second half. And I was looking at Kev thinking, I'm all right doing this. And he was fine with it. And I went on like a 10-minute rant.
Wow.
10-minute, just
Did it inspire people then? Or did they go the other way?
I went on after the break, bowled the first ball, it went for 4. It was like I was fuming. I had this ball in my hand and I thought, right, I'm going to charge it. It was against Gulton Gambia, this little left-hander who come back. And I bowled it, and when it left my hand, I thought, this is half decent. I've got a chance. If it is him on pad, he's got it. He just flicked me for 4. It's like,
But you were fed up with the backbiting, the negativity around Kevin's captaincy, and you thought, you know what, sod it. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to tell them what I really did. Did it affect any of the friendships, or did they think he's on?
I didn't have many friends anyway. You know, I had friends in the dressing
acquaintances.
room. Yeah, so that wasn't too bad a thing. But the coach was shocked, Peter Moores. Yeah. He was fine with it because that's how he
was.
He? Yeah, but as captain, I wish that I ranted more.
Yeah,
I wish.
So it's a useful tool.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. But Matthew, aren't rants,
Can I just say one thing though?
Yeah,
Peterson retired.
Yeah.
Fascinating tweet. I saw an interesting one from you.
I didn't know he was still playing. I had no idea. I thought that ship had sailed. I thought he'd been retired 3 years.
I retweeted it. I laughed when I saw that. I thought you'd retired. He thought it was like this huge emotional farewell to the cricketing world. And Freddie said, I thought you'd retired already.
Then he said,
it was a classic.
Then he put another one up where it was quite another unfortunate one. He's put this up saying what he's doing next, and he's into conservation.
Yeah, right.
So it's a picture of a rhino that's been killed with all these hunters around it, saying the next part of my life, I'm gonna stop these pigs. Well, it's a rhino, Kev. It's not a pig. It's not a pig. To be honest with you, if you're going to save animals, don't drag a poor old pig into it. What a pig's got to do with it? Pigs are intelligent. Pigs are nice. Why are you calling people pigs? But then my quote on the tweet was, I put, thank God for that. I had a nasty rumour he was going to start commentating. But amazing career. Amazing career.
Great player. Great player.
You know,
Robbie, go on.
Aren't rants self-indulgent anyway? I don't know. As a journalist, if you rant, is it not self-indulgent?
Indulgence?
Is it not self-indulgent?
To have a rant?
Yeah.
No, because I think that, as Freddie rightly pointed out, that occasionally people need to hear how angry you are. A rant is an opportunity to signal something to other people. Or when Chubby Chandler said your life is going off the rails because you're not taking responsibility. If you say that, people don't necessarily listen. You shout it and you use the C word and suddenly people... But Rob...
So a rant, Matthew, so a rant can be self-indulgent or it can be to take the pressure off others.
I'll be honest with you, when you talk about self-indulgent...
Yeah.
I think Mourinho's rants are.
Yeah, I do.
I did it at Birmingham, so I was getting a bit of criticism at Birmingham. Mm-hmm. Right, I was Player of the Year. We got Christoph Dugarry in. He was brilliant. He was second in Player of the Year. It was that good. He was second in Player of the Year. Mm-hmm. Right, second in Player of the Year. He was that good. Right.
What are you doing? You're waiting to get hammered.
I'm just saying he was that good. He was brilliant, but he was second in Player of the Year that year. Right. Yeah.
Who was first, Rob?
Good question. Good question.
The kit man.
Good question.
The fellow who irons the shirts.
Right. And then we stayed.
Who was first, Rob?
It's obviously Fred. It was me at first, right? So I was Player of the Year. I was scoring goals.
Did somebody say these rants are self-indulgent?
That's what I'm going to say. I've got two examples. This was a self-indulgent rant.
It is really, Rob. It really is.
Anyway, so remember Steve Bruce called me into his office. So I was Player of the Year. I was, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, the best player at Birmingham for that period.
Mm-hmm. What was Steve wearing at the time?
Tracksuit.
Yeah.
I love it. Great fella, Brucey.
I love Bruce.
So I was getting a bit of stick off of the fans, the local media. So I've done a rant in a newspaper saying, I'm the best. I've won Player of the Year. I've scored this many goals. I've got this many assists. I take the free kick, and it was like when I've read it, I've gone. It's a bit embarrassing, really. There was a self-indulgent rant
after it was published.
Yeah, to protect myself. And Brucey pulled me and said, "Well, what are you doing? You don't need to do that." Because I was under a bit of pressure, and because I was getting criticised, and because I thought, "Hang on a minute, I'm the best player here. I'm doing X, Y, and Z for the team."
How did the team make
I didn't care because it was the truth. So they
were okay. They were all right with it.
I don't know if they're all right. Some people probably hate me, or my ex-teammates, some like me, but I was honest. Because it was a self-indulgent rant because I was doing that well, and I thought, hang on a minute, nobody else is saying it. I'm going to just let people know of my position in the team.
Was nobody else saying it?
No, I was getting stick, and I thought, hang on, this is ridiculous. So it was a self-indulgent rant to show people, wrongly...
Were the crowd singing it?
No, the crowd. "We Love You, Robbie" was a great song.
Yeah, that's it. So.
Yeah, classic.
So that was a self-indulgent rant. But I've gone on rants to protect my teammates as well. Captain of Derby, Nigel Clough, was under a little bit of pressure. We went to Bristol City and we got beat 2-1. But I'll tell you what, one of those games where we played exceptionally well. There were a lot of youngsters in the side, and after the game, the local reporter, I think it was Colin Gibson. I think it was
Colin Gibson.
Yeah, a very good, fantastic broadcaster. Done it at Derby for years. You know, he's having a little bit of go over. So I've come out fighting. I've come out on the front foot saying, you know, how can you say these things? You know, we've had that many shots today. We've played well. We've kept the ball. We should have won the game. When we're getting hammered. So I come out, hammered him, and hammered the station, saying you're against us, blah, blah, blah. And then all the headlines was how I was wrong, but I was sticking up for the youngsters in the side. Because that was a rant, but protecting others.
But these are two rants that you have gone on.
And the radio.
Have you ever been on a receiving end of a rant from a manager, from a mentor, from a teammate that's either worked or gone horribly wrong? Because we're trying to find out when do they work and when don't they work.
Well, no, the rants I've been on the receiving end would have been having a go at me, and I respond to them. Obviously having a go at me. Yeah. The silent treatment's the worst.
Yeah.
If you get the silent treatment from a manager or
years,
a friend or anybody.
Who gave you the silent treatment?
Well, Martin O'Neill will do at times.
Really?
You know, but then for a week he could walk past you and not speak to you and you think, what have I done wrong here? I'd have rather on a Monday he hammered me, told me some home truths, and then that's it. But the silent treatment as a player was so much worse. Yeah. I used to go and panicking, couldn't sleep. What have I done wrong? I'd be into the coaches because I'm quite an insecure person. What have I done? Why is he not speaking to me? Yeah. And then the moment he spoke to you, wow, it was like a weight off your shoulder.
That amazes me because I experienced that for a long time with the coach I played for in England.
With Duncan?
Yeah. And you know what I don't understand is, and I don't understand about what Mourinho's done, is that I think the coach's main job is to make his players feel the best they possibly can be, both physically, mentally, technically. And if you go in silent treatment and you're shouting them out in the public, you're not doing that. How can you? You just said it. The silent treatment from Martin O'Neill, and I had it from Duncan. Well, you don't know where you are with them.
Don't know where you are, yeah.
So all of a sudden, rather than you solely concentrating on your performance and what you've got to do as a team, you've got all these other things going through your head. Yeah. You don't need it.
Yeah. No,
I completely agree with that. I found that I mentioned Paul Day, who bawled me out, but there was another table tennis coach called Dennis Neal. Remember Dennis Neal, the table tennis player in 1960? They were both very direct in the way
Did you just ask Fred a question? Do you remember Dennis Neal, the table tennis player of 1960s?
I tell you what, I bet he recognises the name of Chester Barnes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not Dennis Neal.
Dennis Neal was number one, Chester was two.
Chester's got more of a name, hasn't he, Chester Barnes?
Yeah, with that little square bat.
Square bat?
But that's one of the reasons I think Robbie and I got on very well very quickly is because you were totally honest. Like we did the first podcast, you phoned me up and said you weren't good enough. And you put on WhatsApp, I don't know if you remember this, Mike, producer I'm talking to here, you've got to raise your game. I love that. I want people to be honest with me. Because if they're just sort of actually thinking the guy's rubbish, but not telling you, but they're going to be saying it to other people.
Was that a self-indulgent rant, or was that...
I liked it. I wanted that.
I was being honest with him because I thought you got him on this podcast, your initiative. Yeah, but you thought Matthew.
I got Mourinho. Yeah, you pointing the finger at now.
And then
Jose. Do that French accent again. You brought in him. You brought him.
When I heard him for the first time, I wasn't that impressed.
So what he said about you?
Oh, I don't really care. You know, so
he said,
you've improved.
But we are.
He said, I thought footballers were thick, but this one, what have we got here?
Where I think a rant is wrong, whether it's verbally or in written press. You know, I was on the receiving end of Laura Williamson. It was in the Daily Mail. Do you remember I talked about this? When the headline was, Robbie Savage has worn us down with 5 years of peroxide hair, fake tan and stating the obvious. Laura Williamson can't take any more of Mr. Marmite.
I think I get on with her. Oh, don't be like that, Rob.
So, why are you being nasty?
No.
So, do you know what I mean?
You stopped dyeing your hair.
And it was a written piece. Listen, I don't know. I don't know Laura. I don't know her socially. I don't know her from work. I don't know her personally. You know, and when you wake up to that, and that for me is a written rant, isn't it? You know, stuff like he is seemingly everywhere, infiltrating the country's airwaves, television screens and internet browsers with his peculiar brand of laddish, enthusiastic waffle. Why are you laughing? Is this true? Just tell me if it's true.
No.
Did she got a point?
It's unfair.
Do you know why I'm laughing? Do you know
Why are you laughing?
Do you know why? I'll tell you exactly why I'm laughing, right? Because that story is so ridiculous.
Yeah,
It was about a page of a paper.
Who cares?
Yeah, I care. My kids care. My wife cares.
Yeah,
My boys were crying.
were they?
We're in the airport. We get to the airport, had a good holiday. Sit in the business class lounge. It was obviously, I don't know what it was. Yeah, sit there. Just drop that in. Don't know why. Laura, business class lounge.
Were they crying because it was the realisation that their dad dies of his hair? Is that why they were crying? Dad, you don't, do you?
Can you imagine? You've had a good holiday, and then they sit there. My little boy, the paper's there, and he looks at it and says, "Dad, this is about you." And I'm thinking, and I read it, and it really hurt me because I thought it was unfair. And listen, I'm one person who can take criticism and I can give it out.
But it's so ridiculous. It is laughable. Look at the things she's concentrating on. She can't construct an article, so she goes on about your hair. We had one.
That was the headline that was in the paper.
We got reviewed Milton Keynes by one of the, I think he's called Mark Shenton. He's a big.
Did you put this on WhatsApp?
Yeah, I didn't WhatsApp it. He was like a big reviewer for Fat Friends, and the atmosphere with the camp when the no review is in is completely different because everyone's on edge. Everyone's thinking, "Oh, the reviewer, how many stars are we going to get?" Honestly, I couldn't care less. Because you do your show. Every night people stand up and enjoy it. You do your stuff. Everyone's on Twitter saying, yes, they'll have a pop at you. Nobody do because it's football and it's an opinion and you got some numpties out there. Yeah. And you keep getting jobs, so you're doing something that everybody wants to see, whether it's BT, whether it's Premier League TV, whether it's
What
BBC.
did the review say?
Well, the review give us 4 out of 5 stars. I reckon they might have got 5 if it wasn't for me.
You get a good point.
He wrote about how good some of them were. Then it came to me, and I'm thinking, I'm going to cop for a bit here. I don't know. I don't know if I was complimented or patronised. It was a bit of both. It said, my acting shocking, really. I sang with nerve and verve, which suggests to me nerve means I'm a bit hard-faced.
Yeah.
And verve means loud. So I sang I got plenty of front and loud.
No, that's nerve and verve means that you were bold and you had style.
Yeah,
style, really.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was my acting, my hands. He said, "What? My hands? He doesn't know what to do with his hands." I don't know what to do. Is that best you've got? My hands. I thought my hands were my best bit. I thought my hands.
Yes, in the swans in a sling.
I'm in a sling. Other one's got a bag of fish and chips. Then I burn a chippy down with another sling on, and then
But you know what? That public criticism.
But do you know what? I might be doing the bloke a disservice. I don't want to. It might have been a nice review. I just don't know.
Yeah, listen. Laura,
the first ever review I got.
Quickly, 1 second. Laura Williamson might well be a fantastic journalist. That I don't know, but I'm just picking on that article because that one that really hurt me at a time when I was just starting to get going in the industry. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I just thought it was unfair.
Can I just ask one tiny thing before we finish? When we think about rants in football, you think of the hairdryer and Sir Alex Ferguson. You were at United. Did you ever hear him going off on one? No.
So the biggest thing I remember from my time at Manchester United, without getting released, was Eric Harrison, the great Eric Harrison. Yeah. Brilliant
the youth
coach.
Team
yeah, drove us all on. At the Cliff, I don't know if you've been to the Cliff. It's been there for many, many years. Still there now. Some of the young teams train there, play there. And there was a glass window. And Eric used to watch in the window. And it was immaculate. The pitch was immaculate. Anyway, so you'd be playing, and then if you do something wrong, all you'd hear was... and you'd look, it was Eric banging the window, and then you'd look again, and he was on his way down. So for the next minute, you're thinking, oh, wow. Yeah. And he used to get on the side of the pitch, and he used to let you have it. And that bang on the window, you ask all the lads now, Scholesy, David Beckham, Gary Neville, all the lads in the class of 92, that bang on the window was so frightening because you knew for that next minute he was on his way down. And he used to come and rant on the pitch. But I tell you what, it inspired us all. It's no coincidence that the lads from that class of 92, most of them went on to be, some of the greatest players the Premier League's ever seen because of hard work, desire, getting ranted at.
Yeah, rants are good.
Ranted at.
Good.
So they're good.
We're in a world now, all PC, that you can't rant at people. You got to ask how they feel. How do you feel? How do you feel? I'll tell you how you feel. I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
So
that's
even with
friends,
even with friends, Matthew, ranting at friends. So listen, he's been a bit quiet the last few weeks, haven't you? You know, on WhatsApp. Been busy. You have, but there's times when you want to rant at a friend and say, "Listen, what's up with you?"
Yeah.
Because when you're close friends, I think you can.
Yeah.
But I'd rather that than the silent treatment.
By the way, I think that's the test of a great friend, if you can say what you really think.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get my head around Robbie with Alex Ferguson's hair dryer treatment. Do you stand underneath him and start combing?
I never got.
You stand underneath.
I never got to that point.
Get the spray out in the air. Keep going, Sir Alex. It's nearly dry.
If only I had one Sir Alex hairdryer and had played one time for Manchester United. 'Cause I'm a reject and I'm a bitter reject when I'm a United. But on the rants, I think inevitably they can be such a constructive thing as long as they're
necessary.
not self.
But
They can be
some are self-indulgent.
Yeah, so they can be constructive, they can be destructive, but
Not self-indulgent.
and they can be self-indulgent. And I think
Mourinho,
for me,
last comment. What do you think?
For me, destructive, self-indulgent, and he's not going to lift the team with what he said. But great topic.
5 Live Podcast.
Just released. You, me, and the Big C.
We are 3 friends and bloggers. We've all got one thing in common. We all have cancer.
The minute I was diagnosed, I was handed a leaflet. And on that leaflet was a woman in a really, really rubbish headscarf on a really rubbish sofa. And I was like, that is not me.
My mum says, I haven't seen you for a couple of days on Instagram. Are you alive? And I'm like, Mum, you could just pick up the phone.
Talking about what it's really like to deal with the dreaded Big C.
I didn't say, oh my word, I'm going to die. I went, I'm going to lose my hair.
If you've got mates there with you going through the same thing, then it feels all right. Welcome to You, Me and the Big C.
Search 5 Live in your podcast app.
Second topic. This is inspired by something Freddie revealed right at the end of last week's pod. You said, Fred, the only way you'd go into politics is to try and land the big job of being Prime Minister. So we've decided that we're going to all put together our manifestos. What would we want to introduce into politics in this country if we were running for office? Now, let's start with Roberto, because you have gone large.
Robbie's got papers after paper.
Well, because I want to do it proper.
He's got a ring binder.
Because I like to research. I like to what I'm doing. I like to take it serious. I like to research. I like to be on point. I like to know what I'm talking about. Yeah, can I start? You can. I've got 4 pages.
You're going to read them all?
This will probably take about 5 or 6 minutes.
No,
you can interrupt. What? Do you
mind
No.
It's too long. Why don't you do one policy and then we'll come back at you?
This is a policy.
Okay, go on.
Right, you can interrupt me. Right, let me start. So I've looked at someone who invented laughing at politics all the way back to ancient Rome, and Juvenal, who began the tradition of political satire. Okay. Yeah, you with me? So Juvenal. Yeah, Fred?
Yeah.
There's an awful lot of Juvenal's work that I wouldn't...
Who's written this?
Yeah, I've done it. I've researched it. This is I'm going to come on to it.
Who's Juvenal? Young people?
No, Juvenal, he was a philosopher.
Oh.
Yeah, he was a philosopher.
A young one?
He was a philosopher.
Is that work?
But there's an awful lot of work in Juvenal done that I wouldn't want to associate myself with. Lots of it doesn't translate well in the modern world. But in Juvenal 10, his 10th satirical essay, he come up with a great idea.
What is
satirical.
It? Satirical?
Satirical, yeah. Essay, he come up with a great idea.
I can imagine you now at House of Parliament.
Right. Yeah, listen. So we asked.
Skinner will be all over you now, Skinner. You'd be hammering
The beast of Bolsonaro.
Ready? I'm coming on to my policy. Mens sana in corpore sano. Yeah, you know what that is?
That's Latin.
Latin. A healthy mind and a healthy body. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Yeah, this could be my main policy. A government programme to promote increased levels of activity and knowledge.
There's people, as we speak, banging their heads up windows at 2.
Right, listen. So, this is my policy now. So I've just given you this, and I've got
how are you going to get people
this is it. Active? So, a more active society...
People are speaking to each other on the tube for the first time ever now. They're taking their earphones off and engaging in conversation.
I've given you an introduction.
Robbie, this is brilliant.
I've given you a bit of background. Now this is my policy. See, I've given you a bit of background.
All right.
So, a more active society benefits all of us. People are fitter, more ambitious. As their fitness levels change, they give up or cut down on unhealthy habits like smoking and drinking. They become healthier. They become happier. The government can afford to spend less on the effects of inactivity. Less time and money is lost due to unfit workforce. Millions can be saved in the NHS, including some well-being and mental health costs. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But how do you do
it? Wait. Uh-huh. A focus on sport can be a source of national pride and produce a feel-good factor as international teams and athletes perform well. Individually, people can transform their lives. Some might even be able to, through their skill, their hard work and good fortune, to make a good living from their sport, changing their lives forever. You know, look at me.
Yeah, I'm looking at
it. Okay. Just to pause at that point.
Yeah.
So the policy is we want to have a nation that is more active, and that reduces absenteeism, it reduces chronic illness, it makes people happier, and you have a certain section of them, the really talented and hard-working ones who make the job. I mean,
it's a good idea, Rob.
Yep.
Yeah. But this is the problem with politics for me, is that everyone has good ideas. Yeah. How are you going to do it?
And this is the interesting thing, Fred.
Look, on.
I was going to say that this was the objective of John Major when he introduced the National Lottery. He thought, we're going to have a lottery, we're going to get all of this income, one of the good causes is going to be sport, we're going to create this Ango, a non-governmental organisation, which will be responsible for increasing the number of people participating in sport. They have this huge budget, hundreds of civil servants, and do you know what happened? We also had an Olympic Games, by the way. The number of people participating in sport went down.
Did you know John Major's family are trapeze artists?
Really?
Just throwing it out there.
Didn't he came from a circus background, didn't he? Left school with like...
I think his mum or his dad was a musical singer.
Yeah.
So wait there.
He's an amazing guy, actually.
Great man.
Yeah.
Great man.
So you've met him through the cricket?
Yeah, I was sat with him last year and watched the cricket with him. Yeah. We talked about policies.
The second part, listen, the second part...
What's the second? What a treat.
Stimulating minds. Yeah, you like this, Fred? Education, the search for knowledge, can improve the nation as a whole. People become more curious, asking questions about how the world works and why the system works in a particular way. They become energised and confident, yeah? It doesn't have to be formal education or reading newspapers. You can start following podcasts, looking at social media. All of this empowers people and gives them the confidence to stand up for what they believe and what they know. Pretty soon they are talking to others about new things with a new confidence. And social mobility can result from the search for knowledge. Research has shown that education is one of the best drivers of changing your own personal and economic lifestyles. People from humble backgrounds can transform their living standards and conditions through the pursuit of knowledge. In summary, I'm at the end. Mensana incorporate sana, a healthy mind and a healthy body, the secret for individual happiness, but also for the general well-being of society as a whole. We need politicians to stand up for these principles and be brave enough to say it's good to have policies to promote activity and knowledge. Vote healthy mind, healthy body. Vote Savage.
So ends the party political broadcast for the Savage Party. Fred has collapsed.
Yeah? What's up with that? At least I've had a go. At least I've tried to do something.
Okay, shall I throw one in, or do you want to go next?
Oh, so okay. You're just going to end that. Was that not a good idea?
Well, yeah, I think the issue is everyone would agree. Can I criticise it? Do you want me to criticise it?
Of course you can.
Everybody would agree that physical activity can be a positive. Everyone would agree that education is a good thing, both for the people who are educated and for social mobility. The question is, how do you deliver? How do you implement? What kind of a political system enables those ideas to become integrated into society? And the problem with the sport one is it has been an absolutely catastrophically expensive failure. You've got all of these civil servants in Bloomsbury who are supposed to be getting people active. How are they going to change people's behaviour in Salford Quays? They think they can do it by having these expensive policies, these websites, the whole vernacular associated with going for funding. And all they've done is they've been a drag on innovation. They've been a drag on change. You know what's got people more active? Low-cost gyms, corporates, entrepreneurs trying to make a difference. Oh, yes, they're making money out of it too, but you get it away from the state and it's delivered by the private sector. You get much more innovation. I think sports policy in this country has been an absolute catastrophic failure.
So that was a bad 5 minutes.
An expensive one.
No, not at all.
I just wanted to throw that in as a quick. But Fred, do you want to go next, or shall I throw policy? Okay, my one.
Right.
I would like to see a Magnitsky Act, and I'll tell you what I mean by that.
You're going to have to.
So you know this issue with the attempted assassination in Salisbury?
Yeah.
There's obviously a big level of political and diplomatic conflict between the United Kingdom and Russia.
Have you seen some of the tweets the Russian embassy's been putting out?
What they've been saying?
Just taking the mickey.
Yeah.
Get Poirot in to solve this in Salisbury and things like that.
They've been doing that. Yeah. So in other words, they're not taking it seriously at all. So one of the ideas is that there are a lot of people associated with Putin who have made money, and one of these people, I think, and I'm using my words carefully here, is Roman Abramovich. Because he admitted in court when he had a trial arguing with somebody called Boris Berezovsky that the auction that gave him Sibnef, this big energy company, was rigged. In other words, the oligarchs had given Boris Yeltsin, free advertising on their TV channels in return for getting the wealth, the mineral wealth of the Soviet people at a fraction of its true cost. So Abramovich is loaded. The Russian people have lost all of their sovereign wealth, and now he's got a football club in southwest London. He's got a home, he's got a Boeing, he's got yachts. And I think to myself, that doesn't seem fair, it doesn't seem just. He's never going to be prosecuted by Putin because the courts are owned by the executive branch. So I think we, as a country, should confiscate assets that have been corruptly gotten in a foreign jurisdiction if they're brought into this country. Did a column on it last week.
What's the repercussions of that?
Well, I think the difficulty would be establishing definitively that it was corruptly gotten. Because you wouldn't want to take somebody's freely earned money in a way that wasn't fair. But what makes
is this not in a different way like the death penalty?
No, don't think so.
Well, when you got to have 100% clarity.
Yeah.
In the fact of what you're doing is just. This is very similar.
I think you're right in that you need quite a high evidence threshold to say we're going to take your assets away from you. But the interesting thing about Abramovich is his own barrister admitted in open court that the auction had been rigged. And I think that gives us definitive proof that some of the money that is...
Some of you have gone from his money to some of his money.
Well, not all of it. I mean, remember, he did quite a lot of business before he bought Sydney.
So what do you do? Just take a bit off him?
I think we should confiscate Chelsea Football Club from Roman Abramovich. It'd be an absolutely massive signal.
Wow.
Really?
Because I don't.
Are you going to tell him?
Wow.
Say what, Matthew? Don't be going to Salisbury anytime soon.
This podcast.
Be careful in Bath on your holidays.
Welcome to the Ping Pong Man's podcast, Fred. There's nothing to do with me and you. This is nothing to do. This is not my manifesto, Fred. It's not yours either.
He's going to Russia next week.
Good luck, Matthew. I can't believe John Redwood hammered you in the debate you had.
2001.
He hammered you.
Yeah.
John Redwood.
The election.
He hammered you. John Redwood battered you.
What happened when you ran for it? Did you?
So
John Redwood hammered him.
You didn't get the Russian vote, did
How
you?
did he beat you by so much?
Because the area where I stood, it's a safe conservative.
Wokingham.
I was Labour.
Wokingham. Battered you, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
What were your policies? I know you've gone on about this, but what were you trying to get to the people?
So this is 2001.
But then you say last week anybody could be a politician. But you couldn't. He battered you.
Well... 2001. It was.
That's fair. I was just
it was a safe Conservative seat.
He ran for Chelsea and told him that the football company's confiscated.
Wow. John Redwood.
No wonder you don't get in.
Battered you. Yeah. Go on.
Yeah, so it was a safe Conservative seat. I stood for Labour. And yeah, I got battered. It was Blair was Prime Minister.
So anybody can't be a politician.
I think more people should go into politics if they wanted. Fred would be.
You had a goal. You had a goal. So wow, that is a huge one from you, innit?
That's a big one, Fred. Your policy.
Well, I'm not focusing on big stuff like Putin.
Yeah.
He doesn't live near me. I'm not going to bump into him.
That was fascinating, though. Yeah. Wow.
I think one of the things I would like to see, and it's not basic, but it's something which you see day in, day out. You walk around Manchester, you walk around Birmingham, you walk around most of the cities. Homelessness.
Yeah.
To begin with.
Yeah.
You look,
Andy Burnham, the mayor of Manchester.
I was going to get on to Andy Burnham.
Yeah, been brilliant on it.
Brilliant. Yeah. And it's something, not just the mayor needs to get behind. We need to empower people. These are our cities. These are our places that we work. These are the places which we go to.
Yeah.
And it's all right pointing the finger saying we need to get this much money from the government. We need to do this and that. There's enough people around to sort it out. If we got pride in our cities, like for instance, we're at a property thing last week, and everyone's showing these massive skyscrapers they're building, 36, 50 stories. You know, tens, hundreds of millions of pounds of development going into Manchester. But then when you look on the ground, on every street corner, there's people who can't afford a house, there's people who can't afford to feed themselves. And I think that is a major problem. And I think it's down to everyone. We hear all these speeches and we hear people talk about we want our city better, we want our cities to be the best they can be. Well, we do, and everyone's earning a quid out of it. But I think there's a time when some needs to go back and look after it on ground level. I took my kids around Manchester, and the youngest, Rock, he was horrified.
Was he?
He looks around and said, Dad, why is all these people on the streets? Yeah. It's not like one or two. We're talking hundreds. Yeah. And he's possibly thousands. And he's affected by it. So we buy food and we take it round and we give it out to people. And then you think, well, what could you do more?
Yeah.
And there's a hell of a lot that we can all do more.
Like that.
Andy Burnham's having a crack.
Yeah.
But I think, do you know the problem I think sometimes with politics is? Everyone comes up with an idea, right? Mm-hmm. So you see him and I watch it and everyone's talking, we should do this, that and the other. And you got a lot of herblets sat on the other side just go, oh, Gia. And everyone picks faults in what anyone tries to do without even coming up with something themselves. It's all right saying we need to spend X amount on health or we need to spend X amount on this. Yeah. It's like robbing Peter to pay Paul half the time. Yeah. And Paul's a bit of a knob.
No,
so the homeless problem for me is
I like
an issue.
That. Rob, do you want to go next? I've got
mental health. Mental health, which Rob touched on.
Yeah, mental health is a huge one. Yeah,
it's huge, but it's. I think now companies are starting to realise the importance of mental health. I'm sure you'll see it more than me when you go around and they're trying to help people because, like what Rob said, a healthy mind, healthy body. It benefits workforces, it benefits society. You look at the stats now, people are affected by mental health. But I think there's only a few areas. I think if you get to the top in a big company, then you get looked after. That's where it is, because there's money, there's resources to look after it. Yep. There's an area which bothers me, because part of the company we're doing a big student development, or that's one of the plans. And I want to tie it in with a mental health I don't know what the word is.
Like a project
for students, right? Mm-hmm. Because you look at kids and you look at students. You look at a student, you look at how they live, for instance. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying all students are unhealthy, but they go out drinking a lot. They go out, they're in a high-pressure thing to constantly maintain goals and levels with the work. They don't eat particularly well. They don't have much money. So to me, this is a group of people who are highly susceptible to mental health problems. Yep. And I'm not sure.
And they're also dealing with the challenges of social media and living away from home for the first time.
So I think that is a massive area for mental health. Students, people in learning need help. Yep. So that's something we want to provide along with our buildings and things, but also in wider society for kids. Kids.
So, Fred, what you were saying earlier about how if you become the CEO of a big company, you have mentoring, you have a psychologist, you have this support network that is pretty sophisticated. And it's the same, actually, in a lot of football clubs. There now is a full-time psychologist. There are people who can offer counselling. Most of the football clubs I go to, particularly Premier... But then you think about... I did a column on this today. You think of people in 0 hours contracts, people who are working stacking shelves in supermarkets, who have to not only work long hours, but then they have to go home and look after their sick mum and their 3 kids, and they've got a long commute. There's very little support in terms of counselling, cognitive behavioural therapy, or whatever else it happens to be. I think that's so true.
But do you not think the massive drain on funds and on hospitals could be solved? Yeah. The core of it has got to be
prevention rather than
preventative. Yeah. Start when kids are young. Make that something which is part of normal life, not when you get to the top of a company.
That was my point in my thing, wasn't it? Juvenile 10. That was my point.
Yeah, it was good.
What's the other one?
Okay, well, so this is a less serious one. Can I tell you something that drives me up the wall? You guys take trains a lot. Yeah, he does. But you take trains a lot, don't you? You sit down on the one down to London, and then you have people sitting opposite you. Sometimes, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
When they don't have to.
I can't sit backwards. I get sick.
But, I like to face forward.
Yeah,
I'm the same as you. But then you have somebody facing you. This is driving me up the wall. They yawn and not put their hand over their mouth. I think that is absolutely outrageous. So
bastards. You've gone from Putin and you've gone from confiscating Chelsea Football Club to someone hasn't put their hand in front of the mouth when they yawn. What did they have in the mouth? Did they have like a rat in the mouth or something? What have they got?
You've just come right down to my level.
But it winds me up, Fred. Yawning all over, and they're kind of like the mouth. You see in their tonsils and they're spraying all that. I think that when I grew up, we were told if you yawn, you put your hand over your mouth. People will stop doing that.
Maybe he was too tired.
No, but it happens all the time. I'd say 75% of people yawn.
No wonder you got beat by Derek Redmond.
John Redmond.
Vote for Syed. You'll never see a person not put their hand in front of their mouth when they yawn again. I can see the party political broadcast. I can see it now. There's Syed walking onto a train. He sits down and he puts his bag down. He sets up camp. He gets his laptop out. He gets black box thinking out, lays it out on
Does
the
his
table.
vocal exercises. 1, 2, 3, 4,
And there we go. He
5.
sits down and out the corner of the eye, he spots a man who's about to... You don't want to see this again in society. Vote for Syed. Vote for change. Flipping heck, Matthew, you've just solved the country's problems, haven't you?
Yeah. Was that it?
Are you listening, Theresa May?
And you want to be a politician again?
You don't think so? I would like a law on that.
A law on people yawning.
Go on, have you got any pet hates that you want something?
The bins.
What, you want to... What's
Get rid of them.
bin?
Get rid of bin.
If you bin...
Been where have you been?
If you've been...
Yeah, you're an has-been. The only thing that had been on end.
If your bin is slightly open, they don't take it away.
No, they do.
They don't.
You do. You're not treating your bin men properly.
I don't see them. They're there at 5, 6 in the
Exactly, you
morning.
don't see them. So how have you got a relationship with your bin men? I know my bin men. At Christmas, what I do is put a big case of beer on the top of my bin for the lads. If I've got something which, say, for instance, I can't shut my bin, I'll wait for them. I'll say, lads, do us a favour.
5 in the morning?
I'll wait. If I need my bin empty, they don't come at 5 in the morning. They come at 9 o'clock.
They don't.
So what you do is, Rob, it's simple, this, right? So you got your bin, and you're chucking out all your cans of hairspray, and you can't shut it, and you got your fake tan in there, and you got your Clinique M lotion, and you've got your false tan, and your whitening toothpaste, and it's full to the top, and you can't put the lid down, and you put it in wrong bin as well, because
the grey bin.
So what you do is you hear the bin wagon coming up, and you go over to him. You say, "Lads, can you do us a favour? You know, I've had a good go at it this month, and I can't close my cosmetics bin. You know, could you take
They don't
it?
take them
I'll
away.
give them
There's
20
an inch open. There's an inch open.
That beer, crate of beer. What a nice touch that is. Never thought.
What's your pet hate?
Huh? Where do you want me to start? Tightness.
Oh, yeah.
Tightness. I don't understand tight people.
He's right.
Why? You go out, right, and you pick, like, the people, the hand sitters, who sit on their hands when the bill comes. Yep. Or they'll order everything. They'll order everything over dinner. They'll order wine. I don't even drink. They'll order food. They'll get a starter. They'll go for a steak. They'll get a dessert. Cheese and biscuits at the end with no intent on paying.
That was the best in Ibiza, wasn't it? So on Fred's 40th, I've not told the story, in the beach club, Fred knew the owner and he got us a great table. There was 8 to 10 of us. It was brilliant. So we get there and it's the best table in the beach club. Brilliant, fantastic hospitality. So there was a massive... Fred hasn't drunk for 3.5 years now. Massive bottle of vodka on the table.
10 litre.
10
litre bottle of vodka. It was in a wheel. It was in a wheel.
Massive.
You know what, Matthew?
Yeah.
It's 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, before I stopped drinking. It's the stuff of a wet dream for me. This is like I've died and gone to heaven. This is like
so it's massive, right? Massive. Anyway, so the lads are ordering champagne. It was
Magnums of rosé, Magnums of Warren Pierre rosé.
So anyway, so at the end of so listen, and all the lads are brilliant.
I had 10 cans of Red Bull.
Yeah, 10 cans of Red Bull. Brilliant lads, great. So at the end, I'm sitting there with Fred, and I've gone to Fred, fucking great, innit? And he's going, yeah. I said, how are we going to pay for this? Literally, it would have been, and I'm not exaggerating, and this is just, we wouldn't have, if we'd have been ordering, we would never have ordered all that. Never. So the bill would have been...
About 15 grand.
15 grand, I would say. So I've looked at Fred and said, what are we going to do here? I said, listen, we'll have to go halves on it. Because, I mean...
7.5K.
We never put...
10 cans of Red Bull.
We never put our mates in that position.
Because you mentioned this on a previous podcast. So what did you do?
Well, I said I'd get it. So, happy birthday at 40. Lads have taken me away for a few hundred quid. I've got a 15 grand bill here for drinks. It's like, oh my word.
The guy said, listen, it's on me. Fantastic.
Tony Truman. When I lived down
the guy who...
Oh, no, on me.
When I lived down south, I used to bump into him in the gym. Yeah. Now, we always used to have a chat. And then we booked this place, Ocean Beach Club in Ibiza, which, do you know what?
Brilliant.
It's the type of place I would never go to. But I'm so glad I did.
Yeah.
Because we had a great day out. It was just one of them. You couldn't plan it. If we decided to go again, you'd never do it again.
Yeah.
But the chemistry was right.
But the worst thing was, right, there was someone had a 40th birthday in the place, and they went over with this card, do you know, like the ring girls have cards saying happy 40th and delivered a bottle of champagne. Well, this lot have seen that, and my mate Paddy and that. So all of a sudden, I'm getting one delivered, but rather than one card, I've got every letter in my name Freddie and 40 on the end, carried over by girls in bikinis delivering a bottle of rosé, which, do you know what? I think it's a nice touch. It's going to be on my bill. But I said to Tony, what do we owe you for this? And he said, no, it's on me, Freddie, it's on me.
Yeah.
Oh, what a nice...
And I said, I was like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure? I don't mind paying.
But Fred, you're right. Tightness is so...
I'm not saying the
irritating.
lads were tight, though. I think they got...
No, they were.
No.
They enjoyed a great day.
Not
And we wouldn't
that-
have shared
not
it with
that
anybody.
occasion.
We wouldn't have
You go
shared
for
it with anybody
dinner,
else.
And people, just the expectation... Or you go for a drink, and you're having a lovely drink, and the wine is flowing... And then somebody leaves early and doesn't put their checkbook on, their card on the table or a bit of cash.
Or you see them when you go in a bar and then they hang back from the bar waiting for someone to overtake them to buy a drink. I went out with a lad a couple of weeks ago. I'm not going to name him, he knows who he is. Right? We went out, it was in Milton Keynes, and everyone's having a few drinks, everyone's buying drinks, and I'm buying a round, and he's having... I said... He didn't buy. He had a tenner in his wallet. So when I got a tenner in my wallet, I said, "What?
Yeah.
But you've been taking them all night.
Right.
It's just outrageous. It annoys me."
Yeah, no, it's
Not good. That was a great pod, guys.
Brilliant.
Finished.
You
carry on?
So the manifestos.
Yeah.
So mine
No,
was
let's finish. Let's finish.
Was mine not very good? Or was it being done? To be honest,
I thought...
Have I got no chance?
What did you think? I thought the aspirations were good.
Yeah.
But it was low on detail.
Was it?
That would be my criticism.
Really? To be fair, I've got to give Andrew Russell, who goes to our gym, a big thank you. He helped me with it.
Is he a philosopher?
Yeah, brilliant. Liverpool University. He helped me with it, because I'm not very intelligent. I didn't have a clue. I didn't know what a manifesto was. So I've put it together with Andrew, and he's helped me massively.
Yeah, no,
You're hammering Andrew, basically.
I am. Useless, Andrew. Get back to philosophy and Camus and whoever else he's talking about. The big thing for me on all that is, don't pass the buck. Don't wait for a politician or someone to represent you. Everyone should represent themselves.
Initiative.
Exactly. We got the opportunity. We're all proud of where we're from and proud in the places we live and proud of everything. Let's empower each other.
The homeless one's brilliant.
Yep.
And the healthy mind, yeah, brilliant.
Thank you for listening. If you've missed any of the shows we've done to date, they're all available to download at the 5 Live website and all the usual podcast places. Please use the hashtag FredSouthside to get in touch through the week. If you could leave reviews on iTunes and give us a rating, that would be great. We'll try and read some of the more creative ones in a future pod. We'll be back at the same time next week, but from now, from all of us, goodbye.
Flintoff, Savage and the Ping Pong Guy.
Thank you for downloading this Flintoff, Savage and the Ping Pong Guy podcast. Make sure you subscribe to receive the latest episodes automatically to your device every single week. And if you like this, then why not have a look at what else 5 Live has to offer at bbc.co.uk/5live.